again, I assume part of the storyboarding process, but how do you decide which type of style to use? Like, how do you decide if it's going to be a whiteboard, or how do you decide if it's going to be just graphic animation? Is that mostly from customer input, or is that something that you guys decide and maybe recommend to the customer?
It's a little of both.
Yeah.
I think the customer comes to us with their overall idea, and then it's our job to present options and recommendations. So based on what their needs are, sometimes we'll talk about this style, and other times we'll talk about an animated style. We did a training for a customer where Christine did create a character who was the narrator of the entire training. So and that was their request. Instead of videoing the speaker, it was a character who then hosted the entire training.
So does that save time for the customer if we're just doing audio rather than video?
Yes, if the customer is clear on that's what they had in mind.
Okay. So I guess to elaborate, does it save time? Obviously, it's not going to save a lot of time for us, because it's probably, I assume it's more work for Christine to animate a character, but does it save time in their schedule? So say it's a captain of a program office and he's obviously very busy. For him to sit down and record audio for an hour, probably you can probably get a lot more audio than you would video in an hour, right?
Yes, and we've done that for some of the welcome aboard messages, where that wasn't necessarily a character, but it was a lot of visuals and graphics that we matched to the audio that was recorded. And we often invite people into our studio at the office, which, as you know, that's your workspace. So
yes.
Is very comfortable, and people can record as much as they would like, and then we can take it from there.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the tools that we have at our disposal. So when it comes to like music, or even probably some graphics and sound, all kinds of stuff, we have subscriptions where I mean, you guys have a subscription, right, to a music platform. And that has just a full library of music that we're allowed to use. I assume there's a process again for how we choose the music. This is where our editor, who couldn't be on today, Alex, would come in, where he makes that decision and may need to tweak it after the fact. Are there any other tools that we use to enhance the final product for a customer?
We also have subscriptions to do certain animation styles and certain transition styles. So Christine worked on this. We recently did the SUAS competition. And Christine, tell us about how you animated the beginning with their logo.
We able to, from a subscription, get a sort of template, and then alter the template for our needs, and put the logo we wanted in there, and change it and edit it so it fit what we needed.
Right. So again, saving time for us at that point, and then in turn saving time for our customer,
right?
And getting
the
product to them
final
faster.
Product of that was that the logo spun and flipped on off the screen, which was really cool.
Yeah.
The customer really
and then
liked
you
that.
also have a video block subscription, right? Where if we shoot B-roll all the time from our discussion with Paul, but if there's something that he just couldn't get, we can always go to Video Blocks, which is another subscription service that we have full access to.
And music is always interesting, Ian, because we all have different tastes. So,
yes.
So I really appreciate the team's input on this is the type of music we're looking for, and then I may pick 5 tracks and have everyone listen to those 5 tracks or 6 tracks, and provide feedback. Music is dependent on the style of the product we're producing. So if it's training and education, it really is very background. If the client or the customer wants music at all, sometimes music is just in the beginning and at the end. For the shorter, more promotional type pieces, then the sound becomes very important. So the music has to fit the style and the audience. So that the team gives a lot of input on that.
Yeah. I had a thought there. Oh, I remember. So when I worked for a government customer talking about music, I was making a timeline, animated timeline video. And the captain of the program was like, I want AC/DC playing in the background. I was like, sir, we can't have AC/DC playing in the background. It's like, A, we would have to pay for the licensing for that, and B, it's, I understand you want like a rock song, but we can't have the straight up AC/DC version of it. So I was able to go onto one of our libraries, find a song that had like a sense of AC/DC, and he was happy with it. But I imagine something similar has happened to you guys in the past, where they're like, I want this specific band.
Actually, we've had I had recently had the opposite. On our one of our customers for the V22, the colonel was very well versed in video and audio, and he found the track he wanted to use on the free version that was very similar to what he had in mind, and he was very specific and said, please use this, and it fit great. So sometimes you have the opposite as well.
Right. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's interesting that he was able to find that.
Yeah, it's I think a really big hobby of his. So he's been very involved in the process, which has been great for us too.
Yeah. Makes it easy for you guys, I'm sure. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk about the review process a little bit. Do you just want to kind of give an overview of what that looks like for you guys?
Sure.
Thank you guys so much for watching the first part of this episode. If you want to learn more about our video production team and specifically the virtual tours that they've produced, you can go to avian.com/virtual tours. That's AVIAN.com/virtual tours. You can learn about all of the services that they provide and see some of the videos that they've produced in the past as well. Thank you again for listening to this podcast. Tune in next week for the next part of this episode.